Yeah, so some pretty interesting news. Bryan Battle has been released from the UFC after his second weight cut miss at the fight cancellation at UFC 319. He missed weight by, I think, 4 pounds. That is a lot, ladies and gentlemen. That is an extreme amount of weight that you just missed by. It really is. Now, part of me is saying that, holy shit, the UFC is probably doing a little bit too much because Bryan Battle, I mean, if we look at his record, it's not that bad. I mean, this dude is he hasn't been performing that bad. I mean, he has a draw back in March 16th of 2024, but that's it. I mean, he's been on a winning streak. But it's just crazy how things are right now in the UFC. Like, they're not playing any games anymore. They are tired of this bullshit with fighters not making weight whenever they have a contract that they have to 100% obey by. I mean, look, in my opinion, Bryan Battle, he has like the bare minimum fucking choice, whenever he accepts the fight. The bare minimum is to make weight. I don't understand how some of these professional fighters, they finally get the opportunity that they've always been looking for in their lives to have, the chance to compete in one of the biggest organizations in the world, that being the UFC. But they screw all of that up. They mess all of that up. They freaking mess all of that up because they aren't able to do the bare minimum. And that is abiding by the contract, making weight, and showing up. Now, granted, Bryan Battle did show up, but he missed weight by 4 freaking pounds. That is a lot. That is a lot to miss by. And honestly, man, do I feel bad for him? Do I honestly feel bad for Bryan Battle? No. And I'll tell you guys exactly why. It's because this dude has had two bad weight cuts in a row in two different weight classes. I don't understand how some of these professional fighters have some of the most advanced access to real nutritionists, in the sport, and they just aren't able to make weight. Is it a discipline thing? I think it is. I think 100% without a doubt, it is a discipline issue. How do you miss weight at two different events, at two different weight classes, having all the freaking resources available to you at the UFC PI, and then you just show up and you don't freaking make weight? You don't make weight. Like, what kind of professional are you? What kind of professional freaking cage fighter are you if you just can't do what you're supposed to do? It's not that hard to make weight. The hardest part is literally fighting. If anybody out there is saying that it's hard, yeah, making weight is super hard, but it's a discipline thing. It's a discipline thing. The real freaking battle is literally fighting in the cage. I'm tired of people having the freaking take that, oh, the real battle comes whenever you're in that sauna and you're battling your brain and, all this dumb freaking bullshit. Like, that's just a load of horseshit that people like to say to themselves whenever they accept these fights. Because at the end of the day, you signed the contract, you agreed to it, and you freaking don't make weight twice in a row at two different weight classes. Like, okay, the first one, I guess give him a pass. You know what I'm saying? Try a different weight class. He goes to a different weight class, doesn't make weight again. Like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. What kind of professional does that? Now, what the UFC did, and I mean, I gotta give it to them. They got some nuts. The UFC has some nuts by doing what they did to Bryan Battle, because I didn't expect it. I really did not expect it. But the UFC cut Bryan Battle to send a message to everybody else. If you can't make weight, the possibilities of you still being in the UFC and having a job is on the line. And the UFC is making that very clear with someone like Bryan Battle, who wasn't even in a losing skid. This dude had wins. He's in a freaking 2-fight winning streak right now. And the only reason why he was cut from the UFC, without a doubt, is because he didn't make weight. He has a decent stage presence. People know him. People know about him. People know his name. But the UFC don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, they don't care. You know, it doesn't matter how big of a star you think you are. If you're not making weight, doing the bare minimum, obviously the UFC sending a message with cutting Bryan Battle right now. You don't make weight, your job is on the line. Bryan Battle's worst enemy was himself. It was himself. Like I said, he had a good presence in the UFC. People knew his name. But the fall from grace is crazy. Ever since that Paris card where he performed pretty well, you know, he knocked out that Frenchie, you know, it's just been a downward spiral from him. It's been a downward spiral from him. It really has. Really, really has. And there's no one else to blame but himself because he wasn't able to make weight twice in a row at 2 different weight classes. It's unbelievable. Mind you, I will say this. There's a lot of people saying that apparently the reason why Bryan Battle wasn't able to make weight was because this dude was clearly undisciplined when it came to losing weight. Because this guy just cannot stop eating. In the Ariel Helwani show, he admitted to drinking a lot during this supposed weight cut. It's just frustrating whenever you guys see a fighter that has a decent amount of potential, especially whenever they can make a name for themselves and they finally get to a point in their career where they could be making strides, very, very important strides, not only for themselves, the organization, but also because they could drive the sport forward. They can make the sport more interesting for everybody to talk about. Because like I said, Bryan Battle, he was good on the mic. He had a good representation. He was able to talk. You know, he was able to conduct himself, you know, in a very entertaining way. He just wasn't disciplined enough whenever it came to the weight cuts. And it's very, very sad and unfortunate to see. But the UFC aren't fucking around anymore. They're not fucking around anymore. They are tired of fighters not, you know, meeting them halfway, you know, and the bare minimum is just agreeing to what they agreed to on the contract, and that's just making the weight. Literally just making the weight. And Bryan Battle admitting that he had a drinking issue on his weight cut is terrible. It's just so bad. It's a terrible look. I mean, Bryan Battle, he might be going to the PFL now, Risen, or whatever other small promotion out there, but being cut from the UFC whenever you were on a winning streak, it must sting. It must sting. It must be a freaking heartbreak to him. And I really honestly do feel bad for the guy, without a doubt. I mean, he was in the biggest organization of the world, and he just let that opportunity go past him just because he wasn't able to stay disciplined enough to make the weight, which is very, very unfortunate. Sad to see, but he has nobody else to blame for but himself. I think the cut is definitely is definitely freaking deserved here in this one, if I'm just being honest. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. A brutal one, a brutal news story to cover, but it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.